Hi, my name's Hans Albright. I'm with Lean Scheduling International, and today I want to show you the LSI print control estimating for the print and packaging industry. Today I want to focus on labels, particularly pressure-sensitive labels, but also show you can do shrink sleeves as well. This is a web-based system. You can access it wherever you can get a browser, whether it is on your laptop, on your phone, your tablet. It really doesn't matter. This is something that is a system that's hosted in the cloud, Amazon Web Services, and it's really simple to use, and it's the kind of tool that you can have your sales force out and about giving quotes on the spot and delivering quotes via email literally within seconds. So let me run you through real quick. We'll do this high level, give you an idea of what we're talking about. So the login, everyone has a unique login with its certain permissions. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I brought to a screen where I have a list of existing quotes that are in an open status. So at this point, I'm going to just walk through the steps. I want to create a new one, and when I do, the first thing it's prompting me for is a customer. If I don't have a customer, I can enter one. If I do have a customer, I can start to type their name. It brings it up, and I can populate with the customer's name. The order type could be new, it could be repeat. Really, you kind of decide what order types you would like to have in there. So in this case now, I'm going to go and define what exactly is it that I intend to make here. So I could say I'm going to do a pressure-sensitive label, I'm going to do a shrink sleeve. And the first thing you would notice is that the screen does change significantly depending on what I select, and it only makes sense. We're going to define different things for a shrink sleeve than we are for a pressure-sensitive label. So today I'm going to go back and we're going to do a pressure-sensitive label. So at this point, it wants some basic information. You can see the things that are required. There are asterisks, red asterisks that indicate that. So, the shape. I'm going to say this is a rectangular, and I'm going to go with a 2-inch label. And it's going to be a 2x2 label. So as soon as I leave that, the first thing you might have noticed that popped up down here is it found the lines, the press lines that I have that are capable of doing the product that I'm beginning to define. So it's, as soon as you leave a field, it saves, and it's very interactive, and it's sorting and filtering down to what the possibilities are. Again, 2 inches, so I'm going to do a 2x2 with 1/8 inch spacing. So as soon as I do that, now within each of these individual lines that it had selected before, it's now giving me all of the possible options for tools that you have in your tool library that you'd be able to select and use for this quote. So in this first example, I see one marked in green, and that indicates that it matches exactly the estimate that I'm doing. So for this flexo line right here, I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now, I don't have to select any others, and by default it says no tooling selection, and that's fine. It's going to go ahead and estimate. It's still going to give us a price for this line, but it's also going to give us the opportunity to put different pricing in for tooling, for example, if we wish to do that as an additional charge. So in this example, I'll just say that we know that we have this tool, and what we'd like to do with this is we would say we want to apportion this, the cost of this tool, which is to say to apportion it across all the different quantities that we're quoting. In this case, I'm going to say, well, let's keep it as a separate charge so that we can see what that would look like. So at this point, I'm going to say that's great. We've decided how we want to handle the tooling on this. And then from here, we have a list of questions, which you can certainly put your own in here. These are just some defaults that we have in here. So I'm going to say, yeah, we want to do a cold foil, and yes, we're going to do a lamination. So beyond that, I'm going to move on. So I'm going from tab to tab. I did the customer labels. Now I'm going to materials. So here, I can select from an entire list of stock, or I can begin to filter it down by the face stock, the adhesive, the liner, however it is that I want to do this. So in this case, I'd say that I'd like to do a 1.6 mil face stock, And so it's going to filter it down to just those items that match that. So I'm going to go with the BOPP, and when I bring that in, it's showing me my adhesive type, my liner. And the same way I did this face stock right here, I could have done the same thing by sorting through the adhesives or the liners. I said I was doing a lamination, so I want to do a lamination. I'll just go with a 0.75 clear, and that's all I'm going to select for that. But I did say I wanted to do a foil stamp, so let's go with a bright silver cold foil. So I'm putting this information in as far as additional materials that are going into this. And now we get to our inks and colors that we're going to be doing. Now, the lines that I have are flexo, and I do have a digital line in there as well. So what I'm going to do is define, well, we're going to do, say, 4-color process. And I can specify the ink types that I want to use depending on how I want to do this. I'm going straightforward on this. I'm just going to do UV process, 25% coverage each. And I want to add one new color. In this case, I want to say it's going to be a 485 red. And we're going to do that at, I guess we'll go ahead and do that at, say, 30% coverage. Now, digitally, since we want to quote digital as well, I'm going to say we're doing a 5-color digital. Okay, so now that I've got my colors in here, moving on to additional charges, if any. I don't have to put any in, but in this case I might say I want an art prep charge. We're going to call it $250, and we want to keep that as a separate line item. I'm going to save that, and then I could add another one. Maybe I've got some sort of a cutting die charge, and for that one I anticipate that that's going to be $500. And my apology, one of those at 500. And we'll apportion that. So I'm going to save that charge. And when I go to my costing now, I have some quantities in here that are just default. It doesn't matter. I can change those. I can have those defaults be whatever it is I'd like to do. And in this case, I'm quoting 5,000, 10,000, 50, etc. So I can add, I can delete quantities. So maybe I don't want that 500,000 in there. And actually, I didn't want 100,000. I wanted that to be 250,000. So I can change that. And now it's taking everything that I've had and it recalculates. So every time I put an entry in, it's recalculating. So now for every one of the lines that you saw earlier, what we have is I've got my cost, my total cost for what it's going to be to produce each one of these quantities. I have what our margin is, what our selling price is, and what is our percent of material, how much of the material cost is going into each of these. So in this example, I might look at this and decide that I really wanted to quote that out at, say, 50% for that quantity, so I can change that, and it's going to change my selling price. Likewise, I could also say, oh, and by the way, I've got 5 plate changes on this because that is how I intend to do this. So I could do this. I could do this variably if I wish. I could say, and on this quantity, I'm going to do 6 plate changes. So there's a number of different ways that you can work this, but in every case, it's going to give you a sell price. And what we ultimately want to do for all of the quantities that we're going to quote to our customer or prospect, we're going to select the appropriate selling price. So in order to look through each one of these lines at each quantity and find the best selling price, we're able to go through this chart and we can look at it and make a determination from this. We're also able to get a visual look at this, which can help us. And we can see very quickly, it looks like those first 3 quantities, it looks like the digital line is going to be the least expensive way until we get to the 250 quantity, at which point it looks like maybe that 10-inch is going to be the way to go. So it's an easy decision for me to go to the digital and say that I want to quote the selling price here and here and here, and then I said on the 10-inch I'm going to go here and select it there. But the point is, wherever I decide to select the selling price, That's what I'm going to be quoting. That's going to be the line that ultimately is going to be called out. That is going to be the routing that is going to be included with the bill of materials that's going to be passed on for your system to pick up. So in this case, I've decided, yes, this is what I want to quote to the customer. And then at this point, I essentially have my quote. It's been built. I've got my numbers. It's right here. It's ready to go. Now, in addition to this, I can put some additional notes in here. And I'm declaring myself to be the salesperson on this. And as far as notes go, I'm just going to say, here is a quote. And I'm going to add these notes to it. And again, once I go through and do various steps on this, we've got a log that we're able to put some notes in here. And I could just say, hey Hans, I have the quote, and I'm able to say, we want to email that to the representative. So when the representative has been set up, as I'm not set up, it will send any kind of log notes to them. But in the meantime, you can keep track of your logs. So now I've got the quote, we have it, and I can either download it and use it locally, or I can go ahead and email it. When I email, the way this is set up now is that it's going to go to the customer and a copy is going to go to the salesperson. So it has sent a copy to Dave at davesdairy.com, but since I am the representative, it has also sent a copy to me. So now I'm going to bring my Outlook over here and show you what it has sent. So it's saying, hey, it's giving me a copy of what Dave got. Attached is the quote for Dave's Dairy. Please review as soon as possible. So when I bring this quote up and we have a look at it, I had to open it up in here, we're able to see this quote for Dave's Dairy, and the sales rep is Hans Albright, the details that we put in there, so the die sizes, and most importantly, the quantities that we chose to include in here. Art prep charge that I said I wanted to break out as a separate line. We have die charges in there as well, which are buried. So, and then terms and conditions that would be standard. And of course, this is your report. You make it look the way that you would like it to look. Finally, the thing then that I wanted to show you is we're also able to do the exact same thing that we've gone through and just done, but we can do it in on a mobile device. So I'm going to bring up my live image. This is my iPhone that I'm working on right now, and it doesn't matter what device you're using. You can use any device you want. It doesn't matter whether it's an iPhone, it's an Android, anything. So I'm just using my browser. I've got a Firefox browser, and I've got the same kind of login. I've already logged in, and what I'm seeing here now is I'm going to refresh this, and you basically now see that last quote that I just did for Dave's Dairy. I'm able to log into that, see the details that we saw on this for all of the labels, the materials, inks and colors, additional charges. It's all there. And I'm able to not just see this, but I'm able to go in and actually now create a new quote that I want to do. And it's taking me through all of the same screens that I just walked you through. The only difference is it's going to draw differently, and it's going to result in the exact same thing. And then the beauty of this is that I will be able to finish this up and, again, fire off a quote right on the spot. So you could picture your salespeople with your customer in their office quoting on stuff right then and there, and they get an email quote. So think about that. I will do another demo in the future where I go into a lot more detail on the mobile device. I'll show it with my iPad and walk through this with my iPhone. So I hope you enjoyed the quick view of LSI print control estimating today. And again, this is Hans Albright with Lean Scheduling International, and I look forward to hearing from you and taking any questions that you may have.